Oh, it's going. Hi, brothers and sisters. This isn't the wisdom study. I'm going to start that series tonight, I believe. We're going to look at something I was just looking at. It might be brief. It might not be brief. But, you know, when you're reading different passages, the Spirit will lead you in particular thoughts, line of thinking. So, I was reading in various parts of the scriptures because that's how you're going to pick up, you know, connections and whatnot. You can't just keep dwelling in the same spots, which you have to do sometimes, for sure. But I was just reading through various passages as I, you know, thought of them and hit on them. And Revelation 12:16 was one of them. And it says, verse 15, Revelations 12, verse 15. Then from the mouth of the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and sweep her away in a torrent. But the earth helped the woman and opened its mouth to swallow up the river that had poured from the dragon's mouth. Well, it's good to read. It's really good to read because the first thing I thought of is there's a character in the Old Testament that's capable of drinking up a river. We're told it in the Old Testament. You know where the Spirit led me? It led me to, of course. Where is it? Should be right there. Okay, it is there. I just got to backtrack here. It is in Job. Job 40. We'll begin at verse 23. What does it say? It says, though the river rages, Behemoth is unafraid. And it's got he? No, we know it's a she. It's a representation of the nation of Israel. Behemoth will actually lead you back to a reem or a cow, a bull they'll say, but this we know the heifer is the nation of Israel, and it's the feminine aspect that we're looking at. Though the river rages, Behemoth is unafraid. She remains secure, though the Jordan surges to her mouth. Now, this is a different translation. Let's go to see what the King James it says. It says, behold, she drinketh up a river and hasteth not. She trusteth that she can draw up Jordan into her mouth. 24. Can anyone capture her as she looks on, or pierce through her nose with a snare, with a trap? Can you trap her with a lie? That's what it's saying. And the idea of a pierced nose, we looked at this in one of our videos. It may be one that I don't have up anymore. But we understood what a nose ring meant. It meant to be led around by the nose, right? And to be ensnared. Yeah. But it says, can anyone capture her as she looks on? So let's get the King James on that. We'll move ahead one here. So the King James says, she taketh it with her eyes, and her nose pierces through snares. So it says when she's on duty, right, none can touch her. Well, that also took us, I didn't have this one up, but we've looked at this one many times, and I think many of you who's been along on these studies probably already know where I'm going. Psalm 110. Right? What does it say? Okay. We'll get there. Just takes me a second here. I should have had this one up. But the Spirit wasn't leading me there at the time, so. But it is now. So, we go down. What does it say at the very end? It says, she shall drink of the brook in the way. Therefore shall she lift up her head. So what did Revelation 12 say again? It says, then from the mouth of the serpent spewed water like a river to overtake the woman and sweep her away in the torrent. But the earth, the woman, the earth is a representation of the woman at this time. But the woman, the earth, the woman helped the woman. And so we get again, the woman shall, a strange thing is seen in the earth, a woman shall encompass not a man. A woman, her own head. And we're going to look at that a little deeper from another couple of passages. And then they're all going to interconnect. But the earth helped the woman and opened its mouth to swallow up the river that had poured from the dragon's mouth. Now we understood what water was representative of. It's representative of the doctrine that you're listening to. That's what we understood, right? So water represents doctrine. Yeah. which translates into the law that you listen to, or the yoke on your neck, which can be a light law or a very heavy burden, which is what we're under right now. So water represents doctrine. Now, let's look at a couple other passages and bring these in. Okay, so we're going to go to, which way do I want to do this? We're going to go to Isaiah 50. We're going to read verse 51. And we're going to kind of talk this out as we go. So it says Israel's sin. So Isaiah 50, verse 1. This is what the Lord says. Where is your mother's certificate of divorce, with which I sent her away? Now, they'll have you believe it's a man sending a woman away. That's what they love this. It's not. It's not. And it says, or to which of my creditors did I sell you? She's saying, I didn't sell you. If you pay attention to all of the scriptures that's connected to these passages, we're going to understand she actually is saying, to which of my creditors did I sell you? I did not sell you. Right? Or to which of my creditors did I sell you? Look, you were sold for your iniquities. All right, now we get, sold for your iniquities. And for your transgressions, your mother was sent away. All right? So we get the children, in fact, are no longer listening to the mother. All right, is what we get here. We get a divorce, as in marriage. But as we came to understand, the marriage covenant in the earth is not even close to what the covenant of God, what's in view here, looks like. She was sent away because it says Israel, the daughter Zion, became an outcast that no man sought a covenant with. The men no longer wanted this particular covenant and developed what they wanted, which is the marriage covenant found in Isaiah 54 that will be disannulled. So God says, your ways are not my ways. You teach that this come from me. Your marriage covenant is of God. It did not come from God. This is the covenant of marriage that will be disannulled. But we're seeing the original covenant here actually being rejected. And so the mother sends the mother of these children away. And she says, I gave her a certificate of divorce, breaking the covenant. Where do we see the breaking of this covenant, which they're saying is divorce? Well, we see it in Zechariah. Because once we get it worked out, what's actually being said here. So what does she say? And I took my staff, even beauty. That's a representation of herself as the scepter, right? That will rule, that is the ruler, meaning the law comes from her mouth, which came from her creator's mouth to her, and how the land was to be governed. So, but here we see the breaking of the covenant. And I took my staff, even beauty, and I cut it asunder, that I might break my covenant, which I had made with all the people. Now, let's be careful here. We think there's a transaction going on, but what was this transaction for? And it was broken in that day. My covenant, my true covenant, and the covenant that is to be disannulled is the current marriage covenant in the land that they teach us from God. A woman under a man in his bed, and he gets whatever he wants, right? His law came to rule, which is why we see her being sent away. Okay, we're not done. And I cut it asunder that I might break my covenant, which I had made with all the people. So not the current covenant that is to be disannulled. Verse 11, and it was broken in that day, and so the poor of the flock that waited upon me knew that it was the word of the Lord. The poor of the flock would have been her inheritance, the women, inside the nation of Israel. And I said unto them, now here we get to the high priest, is actually where she's gone to. And I said unto them, if ye think good, give me my price, and if not, forbear. So they weighed for my price 30 pieces of silver. Now you think there's a sale going on, but it's not. What does it say? Then I said to them, if it seems right to you, give me my wages. There's not a certificate going on here of sale to creditors. So give me my wages, but if not, keep them. So they weighed for my wages, right? She wasn't selling her people out. So they weighed for my wages 30 pieces of silver. And mother says, throw it to the potter's house, the Creator's house. The Lord said to me, this magnificent price that I was valued by them. So I took the 30 pieces of silver and threw it into the house of the Lord, to the potter, to the Creator. And how do we know it's the Creator? Because she says, I hear, it's the idea that they will be reborn at the end of days. We've discussed this 100 times at least. So I'm not going to discuss it again. But there's not a sale going on here, which is what we might think. So she says, this is what the Lord says. Where's your mother's certificate of divorce with which I sent her away? Or to which of my creditors did I sell you? Look, you were sold for your iniquities and for your transgressions. Your mother was sent away. Mother wisdom. You didn't want nothing to do with the women of wisdom. We actually see them being murdered, which is also a form of them being rejected. We see the houses casting them out in Jeremiah 9. So you see, the men were rejecting the covenant with the righteous daughters, and we see that in the allegory of Balaam and Balak. Balaam telling Balak, go get your women, send them in, seduce them in inside the nation of Israel, and you'll take out the right hand of God, which is identified as the daughters of Israel, right hand of mother, that's right, not of the father. The father was to exalt the mother's law, and the fathers turned on the mothers and decided, hey, we can exalt our own law, and we can put her under bondage of us, and we can write our own covenant, which is what they did. And that's all explained in Daniel 2 and 3, really just simply in the dream, that you would come to bow down to an idol of a man as your Lord and God. And we do see the world bowed down at the feet of a man, called your bridegroom, your Lord and Master, which also came straight out of Egypt, we've learned. So, and she says this again in Isaiah 50, verse 2. She says, why was no one there when I arrived? Why did no one answer when I called? It's not the Father calling. It's not the Son. It's the Mother. And it's the Creator. And she's saying, why did no one respond to me? You want to know why? Because they had turned their back on her covenant and her. That's why you get return, O Shulamite. What might we see when the Shulamite returns? As it was the company, as it were, the company of two armies. That's 144,000. So is my hand too short to redeem you? Or do I lack the strength to deliver you? Behold, here we go with the water that we began with in Revelations 12. Behold, my rebuke dries up the sea. I turn the rivers into a desert, and the fish rot for lack of water and die of thirst. You see? Where were they when I called? They had turned on her covenant. That's what was going on. And in Isaiah 52 we get this. What does she say to the daughters inside the nation of Israel? Shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of bondage of law and religious lies in the land of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. You have been captured in a lie. For thus saith the Lord, ye have sold yourselves, you sold yourselves for naught, and ye shall be redeemed without money. That's not blood. That is not blood. It is water that redeems you. The water is your doctrine of truth. That's what redeems you. It was never blood. But you sold yourselves into that blood covenant, into that law. You bought into it. You sold yourselves. What does the word buy mean? It seems like such a simple little word, doesn't it? Buy. Oh, obtain, to exchange for payment. Yeah, but you know what else it says? It says to accept the truth of. Well, in this case, it was not the truth. It was a lie. It was a turning of things upside down. I am not prepared to buy the claim that the ends justify the means. But you see, these women eventually turned from their mother, who gave a bill of divorce, meaning the covenant. They call it a marriage covenant. But what does it say in Malachi? I didn't have this one pulled up. Malachi 2, parallel, when they were turning on the women by writing laws of violence into the law. And it says against your brother, they were writing them against their sister. It tells you that. Keep reading. I've said this many times. Reason it out. So the law of truth was it. So here we speak of Levi, the priest. The law of truth was in his mouth. But ye are departed out of the way, you have caused many to stumble at the law. Ye have corrupted the covenant of Levi. Right? Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base before all the people, according as ye have not kept my ways, but have been partial in the law. See, they began to become partial in the law. They were creating a division by saying women were less than men. That's exactly what they were doing. Since Judah had dealt treacherously, that's unfaithfully in this marriage covenant, not the one we're looking at in earth right now, but the true covenant of God. God says, my ways ain't your ways. And an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem, for Judah hath profaned the holiness of the Lord, the Holy One of the Lord, which she loved. And you have married the daughter of a strange god. He married the harlot that would exalt him as God. And she turned away from her mother's teachings, which then she says, find the men, because the men were rejecting the covenant. And they were using violence. It says, the Lord will cut off the man that doeth this, the master and scholars, out of the tabernacles of Jacob, Judah, and him that offereth an offering unto the Lord of hosts. And this have you done, covering the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping, with crying, insomuch that she regardeth not the offering any more, or receiveth it with goodwill at your hands. Yet ye say, wherefore? Because. Wherefore? Why? Because the Lord has been witness. She witnesses between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom you have dealt treacherously with, unfaithfully with. You rejected her covenant, and it began as 10 commandments that you would not uphold. You built up idols in the land, both male and female, and over time we see them removing the female idol. So all that is left is the male idol for all womankind, meaning the harlot in the land, bowing to man as Lord and God, which you bought into the lie. That's what buy into a lie. You sold yourselves when you bought into that lie. But she said, I did not sell you. What? Is the Lord's hand short that I cannot redeem you? You are my children. You belong to me, to my daughter, whom I gave you in covenant, and you turned on. So the Lord hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom you have dealt treacherously. Yet is she thy companion and the wife of thy covenant, of the original covenant, not this ridiculous covenant that is to be disannulled in Isaiah 54. And did not she make one? Yet had she the residue of the Spirit, and wherefore one, that she might seek a godly seed. Therefore take heed in your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his covenant. We could say he had the residue of the Spirit, of her spirit. Because he was governed. The fathers were to exalt the mother's law. We're told that in the Old Testament, and the fathers turned. And they began to follow Balaam's way. All right? For the Lord, the God of Israel, saith that she hateth putting away. For one covereth violence with his garment, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore take heed to your spirit that you do not deal treacherously, unfaithfully. See, we're told that they were covering violence over in their skirt. And you know how they were doing that? You ever read the Numbers 5 law of bitter waters? They were murdering women. Because they wanted the women over across the border that they weren't supposed to marry. They were warned not to marry outside their own women. That's what they were warned not to do. And they went ahead and did it anyway. Because the men loved what these women from the surrounding Adamic nation, that Balaam told Balak, go get your women, send them in. And they were tickling their little ears. It was like honey on their tongue. And the women were saying, hey, you don't have to have those women's laws. You can rule yourselves. And they did. They began to rule themselves. And they began to write these cruel laws into existence, which were perpetuating violence against the women, and were allowing them to take the upper hand and treat her as if she was less and not equal. God says, you saw no image of me, you make no image of me. And they made 2 images. Yes, they were good. They were good little, but they made 2. Yeah, a male and a female. The women went right along with it, and God warned them, you go along with those boys, and you're the ones that's going to end up paying for it. And they have. They wrote law upon law, put a yoke upon her neck. That's why it says, shake yourself out of the dust of the earth. But she says, I never sold you. Is my hand so short that I can't redeem you? She says, I will wash the blood off the daughters of my Israel. I'm going to wash the blood off of you, this lying blood covenant that you sold yourself into. She says, to what creditors did I sell you to? I never sold you. Never. This is where is your mother's certificate of divorce with which I sent her away? Or to which of my creditors did I sell you? So she's not actually saying, I gave her a certificate. Where is your mother's certificate of divorce? Where is it? Where is the certificate of divorce? Right? She says, you reject the spirit of the original covenant. And that was identified as the wife of the original covenant. For a harlot spirit that would bow to a male idol as Lord and God called your husband. Which is the covenant, marriage covenant in his bed, under his law, in his bed, under his law. And you know what they tell you off the pulpit? He rules over you. He's your head. So it's a male head on a female body. Yeah, he's your head. Does that make sense? I have my own friggin' head. I don't need his to tell me what to do. God tells me what to do, not man. And again, man tore the female idol down. He leaves the male one staying. You can come and worship in Judah. All right? You don't have to worship in Israel. You don't. And yet we get the scepter of Shiloh coming out from Judah's feet. And that's for the messenger of God, who is the messenger of the original covenant, which is the daughters of Israel. It's a new branch that she takes out. That's what she promised you. She promised you she'd take out a new branch after the original one was broken. And she was paid for her wages for her service. All right? So we see all of that going on. Okay, so that's everything I wanted to talk on. And we see the water. Right? We see the dragon. So the waters is swallowed up by the daughters of Israel themselves, breaking down the scriptures and the truth. And she says, I never sold you. To whom of my creditors did I sell you to? I never sold you out. You sold yourselves out is what you did when you bought into this religious lie and law. And she says, return, return, O Shulamite. What might we see when the Shulamite returns? As it were, the company of two armies. This is the army that's going to swallow the dragon's water. Which is akin to the earth, opening up her mouth and spewing out of, and opening up the earth and swallowing. And so you get the allegory of woman and woman in two ways of looking at it. So that's what I wanted to talk on. Let's see, how long is the video? Oh, come on, pull up. It's not letting me pull my camera up. There it is. Okay, so, and tonight, I don't know that I said everything. Let me look in my book. I did take just a few notes. I doubt there's anything too much, to talk on here. Yeah, it's just amazing how Job 40, 23, 24 kind of lines up with Revelation 12. And once you understand who the Behemoth is, a representation of the daughters inside the nation of Israel, then you understand who's swallowing up the water, which is akin to the doctrine, or the earth swallowing it up, to aid the woman, in her escape from this snare, right? They're a set-apart group. They are the inheritance of God, really, from above. They're her right hand. And she says, where is the divorce? Yet is she the wife of your covenant, and she will be again. This covenant of marriage that they call marriage in the land is the covenant to be disannulled. It is. We discussed that in another video. If I can, I'll find the link and put it down below. Now tonight, because it's early afternoon here right now, tonight I hope to begin a series of videos on wisdom. And I haven't looked at wisdom that's in the Apocrypha. And I haven't looked at that for about 2 weeks now. So I'm going to be a bit rusty, and I'll be trying to catch up like I do in all my videos. So anyway, there's the video. Just something to look into for yourself. I'll bet there's other passages too. And she says, when I arrived, where were you? when I arrived. Maybe that's also perhaps, maybe that's also in connection to coming like a thief in the night. I came and there was nobody here to hear. You were too busy bowed down at the feet of an idol to hear anything I had to say. So that's Isaiah 50, 1-2, where she says, when I arrived, no one answered. And we get this verse also in Psalms, stand up for your cause, God. Stand up for yourself. A strange thing will be seen in a land. A woman will encompass her own head. She'll start thinking for herself. Through the Spirit. That's right. Start reasoning it out. Looking around and going, gee, look at what this covenant is. It's a covenant all about man. Doesn't seem to have much to do with me. Yeah, but I'm washed in blood because I'm so bloody wicked, and his head rules mine because he's so moral, and he wouldn't sexualize a woman on his behalf, I'm sure. No, that wouldn't happen. He's too righteous and godly to. He'd do the good thinking for you and put you in his bed, and with a stipulation that you must obey his head and do what he tells you to do. Yeah, that's not led to anything bad in the land, has it? No. But anyway, so again, I was just thinking of that Isaiah 51-2. Where were you when I called? Where were you when I arrived? Where are you now? Why aren't you responding? Is my arm too short? My right hand too short? That I can't redeem you, that I can't save you, that I can't tell you the truth? And we're told in the New Testament, you're redeemed with the truth. You're not redeemed through blood. What Joshua would have witnessed to was the truth of the law. The truth of the Ten Commandments. So return, O Shulamite. What might we see when the Shulamite returns, as it were the company of two armies? That's 144,000, because we know 72,000 is one army. We're told that by Joshua in the New Testament. It's Joshua, not Jesus. You've got two again. We got Joshua and Jesus. And they use some of the words and languages for Joshua. And then Jesus feels he's the only begotten Son of God, which is the Father, and never speaks a mother. Then you have Joshua that speaks the truth. And he exalted her law. That's what he came to do. And that law began as those 10 Commandments. Then we see the Pharisees taking control of it, or the Sanhedrin, or the scribes, whatever you want to call them, basically taking full charge of the writing of the law when they were in Babylon, which that gold head is what the king dreams of. And we're told he ends up clothed, more or less, in the religion of Egypt. Yeah, that's what we're told. I can't remember the passage, but it says Nebuchadnezzar arrays himself in the garments of Egypt. What do you think that means? We're looking at allegory here, and that's the only way, that's the language of God that you're going to understand the Old Testament in. And you're going to find out that the New Testament is nothing more than the feet of the idol, causing it to stand. That's right. And again, you get the allegory of the daughters of Israel, the scepter, the new branch, also your stone cut out without hands that will smash that image of man as Lord and God. He's not. He's an idol, making you a harlot and a lamb, bowing to him as if he's your head and Lord and God, and he's not. And you can validate that for yourself if you're really wanting the truth. If you don't want the truth, it's too hard to grasp or comprehend, then you'll continue to walk on your crooked path. That's what you'll continue to do. So there's the video. Thanks for watching. Pray the Lord blesses you with an abundance of the true waters, the cleansing waters. We know they're coming. They flow from the tabernacle that we see in Ezekiel 47, I believe. And those waters in tabernacle is representative of her. That's right. That's what that's representative of. And we know they spring from the spouse, Isaiah, Song of Songs, 4, verses 12 to 15. We also get it in Proverbs chapter 5. And we see over and over that they rejected these daughters out of hate. They hated them from the beginning. And it also says, you hated me without a cause. You had no reason to hate me. So anyway, again, thanks for watching. Hope you like the video. Hope you share the video. Hope you go in and study for yourself. Hope you start reasoning with the spirit of wisdom for yourself. Perhaps you've already got, things in your mind. You've carried them your whole life and going, well, that just don't make no sense. And yet you kind of buy into the lie for a while, and then you go, hey, this just really is making absolutely no sense. There's a sense to be made with it, and I've got to let wisdom lead me in order to make any sense of that. So anyway, again, pray you're blessed with abundance of truth. And thanks for watching my video, and I hope you share it. Have a nice day.